Sharon Weiner is a member of our RSDSA's board of directors. As I mentioned earlier, she's also president for how many years? Since 1997. She's started her own not-for-profit in New Jersey, Living with RSDS. She has a table out front. She is one of our more popular YouTube performers. She has spoken about tools for living with CRPS. She's also spoken on sexuality and intimacy and relationship building. And today we're speaking about finding and maintaining supportive relationships. Before I let Sharon have the floor, I just want, on our YouTube, we have three extraordinary videos that Sharon has been filmed doing. She's been a support group leader for over 20 years, two decades. And she has, Alice and I interviewed her for over 15 minutes on how to start and maintain a support group face-to-face. Fabulous. It's on our YouTube channel. If you just Google RSDS on YouTube, we have almost 60 videos up there. And secondly, we filmed a version of her support group called Real Insights, where she and 5 other women talked about their intimacy relationships within the family and within their social network. That was just extraordinary. And it's something that we don't talk about. The fact that so often we just talk about the pain. We don't talk about the losses and the need to grieve our past lives. And it's really a pleasure that Sharon is one of our YouTube performers. And she's here in person. Thank you.
Like I said, I've been running support groups since the 90s. A lot of this information that I put together for you is either from meeting people in my support group, doing research, my own life, talking to other people with this. And a lot of this may seem pretty basic, but when we get CRPS, it kind of takes over our life. It takes over the people around us, their lives, and we forget that there's basic things like relationships, friends, family, time for us, and sometimes we need to be reminded. So this is part of what this presentation is about. We're going to talk about relationships with ourselves. It's pretty important. Those who care for us, our families, our relationship with our children, our social relationships and support group relationships, or medical or professional. This is a quote that resonates a lot. When one is out of touch with oneself, one cannot touch others. When we're angry with ourselves, when we're feeling all that guilt, when we're dealing with that, how can you expect someone else to deal with you too? If you don't like yourself, how are you going to expect somebody else to like you? One of the big issues with having CRPS is we all feel different once we've been diagnosed and we have this problem. And we deal with a lot of guilt and anger. How many of you feel guilty because you have CRPS? Why do we feel guilty? How many people asked to get CRPS? It wasn't something we did. It wasn't something we asked for. It's something that changed our lives. And we get angry. Who are you angry at? Usually it's us. And we didn't ask for this. We didn't ask to do this to our families. We didn't ask for any of this, but yet we directed it at us. And again, I know they talked about stress, and how you handle it is sometimes how our pain can be handled too. When you're angry with yourself and you hold that in and you build it up, it causes stress, it causes some issues. We also seem to, I find, talking to a lot of people, the need to prove something, that all of a sudden we're less than we used to be. And now all of a sudden I have to prove I'm worthy. I'm worthy of you caring about me. I'm worthy of you liking me. I'm worthy of doing something with you. And I don't understand that. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Why all of a sudden I think I need to do better than I did before because now I feel like I'm less because I have these supposed limitations. And I say supposed because there are limitations sometimes, but there's also many other things that we can learn to do. And the one thing, and I will repeat this many times, it's not always all about us. We have family, we have husbands, we have wives, we have children, we have sisters, brothers, friends. Relationships is not just us, it's not one-sided. So sometimes we need to remember that as terrible as we feel, that person might be having a really bad day too. And you have to keep that in account. How do you forgive yourself and move on? That's not easily done. In fact, I said it's not I never said this was easy because it's not. It's like grieving. Sometimes you just have to get past the fact that things are changing and adapt to you have a different life, a different lifestyle. May not be the one you asked for, but also something else could have happened that changed it along the way. How many people worked before they had CRPS? How many work do the same job now that they have CRPS? Very small percentage. It seems a lot of our society is based on who we are, and it's what we do. And the minute you walk in and go, oh, I'm disabled, I can't work, people sometimes do look at us differently. I walk in, I say, I'm an advocate. Covers a lot of ground, and if they ask, I explain. I do this. Find what you like and find a way to do it. A lot of times we give up hobbies, we give up the loves of our lives. Like I said, I never skied. I can't ski now, that's no biggie. There are other things I like to do. I'm trying to find ways to do them. Sometimes this is taking it up with your family and saying, you know what, I really want to do this. Plan it, find a way. We can travel, you just have to plan it a little differently. I walk the Grand Canyon, they have a handicap trail. So, I mean, there's ways to do things if you really want to try to find a way. I mean, there will be some limitations. We have to be realistic, there always are. And is it depression? I know they talked earlier about being depressed versus depression. Most of us will go through some form of depression or being depressed. Our lives changed. It changed our families, it changed your income, it changed a lot of things. The point is making sure you understand what it's about and get help. I went to a therapist. It's the best thing I did. I screamed at a person for 6 months because I was so angry. But after a while, I wasn't screaming at my family, which they didn't deserve. Spouses, caregivers, and others. I include family in this as caregivers, if anybody has a question about that. One of the biggest things I've noticed is a change in dynamics in relationships. Especially I notice if it's the husband who has CRPS and now he cannot work. It seems we have a society where the male works and it's okay for the female to be home. Not all of us feel that way, but it changes. And you have to change with those responsibilities. You have to start looking at a partnership on how things have to be done. The lack of intimacy, both emotional and physical, is a tough subject to cover. Because it works for one is not always going to work for the other. You're talking about personalities and people. They're not a static thing that we can just say fit them together and they're going to work. It takes work. Find ways to reconnect. If there's something you used to really like to do, like I said, try to find a way to do it. You know, it can be as simple as, you know what, go to the movies if you can, or pick a date night and go to the diner. Rent a movie and watch a movie together. Just spend some time and reconnect and find ways to do things together. Communication, it goes both ways. Just because you've had a tough day and you have to tell them all about it, doesn't mean they're ready to hear you. Make time to talk. When somebody walks in the door after work or dealing with something or you've just had a flare-up, let me tell you, that's not the best time that somebody wants to talk about selling your house or doing a big change or the fact that we have to change who does what in the house. Make the time, make an appointment when you're both ready and able to sit and listen to each other. Less frustration, less stress, less pain. Divide and conquer responsibilities. You may have to do that. Maybe the laundry room is downstairs and now you can no longer go down the stairs. Somebody's going to have to carry it down for you. It doesn't mean you can't do the laundry. It just means you can't carry the stuff up and down. Find ways to make that work. And like I said, it's not always easy. It's sometimes looking at the way you do things and finding a whole new avenue. How you say it it matters as much as what you say. Does anybody ever read an email and you read the same sentence 5 different ways and it comes out 5 different emotions? Well, sometimes you have to realize when you're saying something, that person may completely read it. They may not take it the wrong way. So make sure they understand what you're trying to say and you understand what they're saying to you. Just don't assume. Confirm, connect, listen to the person. Keep it simple. Sometimes we don't need the whole encyclopedia of the problem. The car broke down, I need brakes, where do I go? Not the car broke down, I got stuck, you need to get to the point. Be honest. If you can't be honest with somebody that is your caregiver, your partner, or whatever, there's other issues. You need to say, you know what, today was a really bad day, I can't make dinner, you have to do it. And that person, and you have to understand it and be honest, because if you keep all that inside, what's going to happen is your pain's going to get worse. You're going to get frustrated, you're going to get upset, you're going to take it out on each other. You don't want to do that. Be creative. And when I'm saying be creative, think outside the box of things that you can do. I had to stop playing soccer, I got a telescope. I taught the whole neighborhood how to read the stars, all the kids. So I mean, there's different ways you can do things, you just have to look at something maybe you haven't tried. Practice active listening is very hard. I'm guilty of not being great at it myself. We tune out. We don't want to hear it, I don't feel good, I'm tired. When that person is talking to you, whether you or the other person, give them the courtesy and the respect to listen to them. It will save a lot of aggravation, a lot of time, a lot of frustration. And it can help your pain because you're not sitting there going, they're not listening to me, they did it wrong again. Connect. Find common ground. I've been married almost 28 years. You do, relationships go up and down. You drift apart a little, you drift back. Try to find some common ground, something that you both like that you might want to do. It could be take a drive. It could be a multitude of things. Read the paper, find out what's going on. Go to the craft fair, go to the beer fair. It doesn't always have to be a big deal. Respect each other's issues. Just because you're my partner doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything. Agree to disagree to a certain point. There are big issues sometimes you have to agree on, you have to compromise, you have to work on it. But agree to respect that person's issues. Do what works for you. What works for me may not work for you, may not work for you. The point is I can give you some information to think about it, but what may have worked in my life might not be the answer to yours. It's to give you some food for thought of what might. Compromise is not a bad word. That's not giving up, that's not giving in. It means we're being adults and we're saying, okay, at some point we need to meet in the middle. And sometimes that's hard because we really care about things, we really want things. Our fears. This is a big one. Rejection by our partner. We don't feel like the person we used to be. We don't like to be touched. We may not want to be held. We may cry. We may just curl up in a ball and want to be left alone because we think you may not want us now because there's something wrong with me. I'm still the same person I was before. I just have different limitations. And pain associated with physical contact is very tough. That's something group by group, person by person, you have to be able to look into to handle. Some people can't take their arm, their leg. I mean, sleeping with another person can be very difficult. Rolling in the bed can be difficult. So you have to kind of work out some of those issues. Do what works for you and what makes you happy. Don't go by the standards of everybody else. We have something that no one else has. So what works for them may not be the answer for us. We're afraid we're going to fail. We're going to go try something that's not going to work. You're going to fail anyway at some point. Not everything is always going to work. If you didn't have CRPS, you would try things. It doesn't mean they were going to work all the time. Learn from those. What didn't work, what did work, and move on. Medications is a really tough subject, again. Some family members are often afraid that you're going to turn into a drug addict if you're on medications. Some family members may steal your medications. Okay. Some may be concerned that you're taking too much or not taking enough. It changes your personality. That is, again, going back and talking to each other to understand. Take them to the doctors with you. Let them hear what the medical professionals are saying so that, you know what, you know, I never understood if you're in a relationship with somebody why somebody would personally doubt you unless you gave them reason. I have this syndrome, this is what it is, this is what I need. Why would you think I'm wrong? And I hear this a lot and it really saddens me. That, you know, my husband doesn't believe me, my sister doesn't believe me, they all think I'm making it up. Why would I make this up, honestly? What is the point? Why would I try to do this to myself and everybody I care about? Because it affects everybody I care about. So medications, you really have to be open-minded, and we all know at CRPS, what you take may not be the same thing that you might take, and it's all different. So just because so-and-so takes A doesn't mean A is going to work for me. And I've seen it happen where somebody comes to a meeting and they meet people, and all of a sudden, well, that works so great for that person. Well, it don't have the same expectations, and they do, that it's going to work for you, and they get angry when it doesn't. You need to have open discussions about this so that they understand the syndrome. There's serious problems. Some of this is on the rise. Neglect. You know, you might not be able to always take care of yourself the way you'd like to, and the other person is just fed up and just says, I don't care. Alcoholism is on the rise everywhere. It's a nationwide epidemic. Drug issues, as I said, there is drug abuse. It can be family members, friends, your children. Be very careful. Get lock boxes, lock it up, especially if you have something that is very powerful. Emotional and physical abuse. It's on the rise, physical abuse of patients to their caregivers. And a lot has to do with anger and frustration. So if you don't communicate, you don't talk, all this builds up, and it can lead to some of these things. Lack of a support system. How many people in this room think they have a good support system? Not enough of you. And why is that? Why do people think they don't have a good support? Not believing in you? You just don't have the people around? Are you not opening yourself up to other people? Because we tend to close each other off. We close ourselves off. We become so immersed in having the syndrome, the pain, the medical issues, the doctors, the bills, everything else, that we tend to sometimes cut people out.
A lot of times when you're just talking about, they'll look at you and say, you don't look like you have a disease, or you don't look sick enough.
Oh, I know. I was telling somebody earlier that I went grocery shopping, and a woman blocked in my car and called the police on me because she said there was nothing wrong with me. I have handicap parking. I walk with a cane for 16 years, up until this year. And I tried to explain to her what I had, and she didn't care. So finally I said, I'm dying. She goes, oh, you poor thing. But I said, you believe that over the fact that I told you I had this whole other syndrome? And it's just people just don't accept what they don't know. I walk around with those cards, handing them out to everybody, trying to educate everybody I can, because I hope someday they'll come in contact with somebody else who has it and needs a little assistance or help. Getting help. We have to remember to ask for help too. We feel like we're becoming a burden. We don't want to ask you to do that last little laundry, or to make dinner, or stop at the grocery store, or could you do this, or how about, you take care of the kids this week and I just can't. We need to be able to do that. And sometimes compromise comes in there with, you know what, I'll do this on Friday, you do this on Saturday. It's a team effort. And if we don't make it a team effort, sometimes the team falls apart and it doesn't win. Sports analogy. Caregivers, how many caregivers in the room? Thank you all for coming. It is greatly appreciated to see you here. We could not do this without you. Hands down, we could not. Keep in mind that a caregiver has had a major change in their life too. Us having it affects us, but it's like throwing a rock in the pond. It touches everything. It moves out. It affects their life too. Let me tell you, think about it. How would you like to watch somebody in this kind of pain? Put yourself in their shoes for a minute and think about what they're seeing and think how that affects them. So sometimes you have to look and say, you know what, oh my God, this is touching on them as well. Caregivers are entitled to time on their own, and they should pursue it. Their life is not always caring for every one of our needs. We're capable of doing some things by ourselves, maintaining a life by ourselves a little bit, and sometimes taking care of ourselves on a Friday night so they can go out. Let them do it. They need their downtime too. This is stressful for them. Find a support system for caregivers. We have caregivers come to our support group meeting, and they talk to each other. Sometimes we put them in a separate room and let them air their grievances that they don't want to say in front of us. Because let me tell you, they have them. They do. They're just not going to always tell you. And like I said, it's not easy to watch another person in pain. It really isn't, even if you don't know them. And then think about it, somebody you love or care for or genuinely have concern for, and you can't do anything for them. It's a difficult thing. I once told my mother I could handle anything happening to me but not my child. And this is after I was diagnosed, and I just looked at her face and she's like, really? You didn't think about that? And I said, no. I didn't think how it was going to affect her. How many in here are a parent with CRPS? Okay. Anybody have young children, super young? Okay. Age-appropriate info. Kids are like sponges. They're going to absorb everything that's going on. And let me tell you, their imagination is worse than anything we can tell them at this point. They're going to think it's their fault that you're not hugging them, or you're not talking to them, or you're crying, or you're locked in your bedroom, or you didn't go to their game. You need to tell them the truth, but at their age level. They don't need to know all the scientific terms. They just need to know that mom has something or dad has something. Get them involved. Children love to help. They like to do things. They really do. If you start early enough, once they hit teens, that's a different story. My children are grown, so I'm past that. They like to help. Help them set the table, clear the table, put the socks together. Find ways to have them help you because they do want to, and if you start early enough, that becomes norm for them. Even older, they do. They might complain, but they do. Involve your teachers if your children are in school. One of the things I learned to do was go every year, I sent information to my students, my children's teachers about what I had. Because my kids would panic every time I went in the hospital for a block that I wasn't coming home. They'd refuse to take tests, they would need their lunch, so I finally learned to go in, talk to the school, the teachers, and say, look, this is what's going on at home. Please be aware of my children may act up, let me know if something's going on. And it made life much smoother because I gave them a head start on when I was going in the hospital so they could prepare my kids. And create a support system for you and them, a way to talk to them about it. You know, have an ice cream, sit at the kitchen counter. How do they feel? Do they have any questions? One of the first questions my kids asked, can I get it from you? I don't know. But that was their concern. Can they get it? And could they catch it from me? So sometimes their perception is totally different than what we think. So talk to them about it a little bit. They're not going to run away. They might get upset. But you need to ask them the truth because they are going to think, basically, at a young age, it's their fault. Even when they're older, they're going to think they did something wrong because you changed. Teens are different. Teens are a different animal altogether. I swear aliens come and take them, leave bodies, and come back about 5 years later with your kids. They're at an age, again, lock up your medication. It may not be them, it might be their friends. These things do happen. Be prepared. You see all those commercials? That's a reality. And we would be responsible if something happened. So with kids that get a little bit older, as you would lock up your alcohol, lock up your medication, lock up anything like that. Be prepared to think the worst. Not that they'll do it, but there's always the chance that somebody might, and it might not be your child. Be present and involved. We have children, we need to be in their lives. They need their parents. And it's difficult, I know, with the pain, and we're tired. And we're trying to take care of a house. We're trying to do all these things and take care of our husband and our families. When the child comes home and is all excited about something, give them their 2 minutes. Give them their 30 seconds. You have no idea how much that means to them. Maybe you can't hug them because it hurts. Find a different way to communicate. They need that as much as we do. Does anybody in here have a child with CRPS? I have to say, to me, that is a personal hell I'm glad I'm not in, and I know that's very, very difficult. A child is a child. As my mother told me, I would be a child forever to her. I'm her child. Trust your child and listen to them. A lot of times we disregard what children are saying because they're just a kid. They're trying to communicate with you and tell you something. Listen to them. Be their advocate. No one else is going to be it. You're it. The doctors, their schools, their friends, the bullying. Because let me tell you, bullying goes on. It starts young. They're different. And once kids hit a certain age and they're different than the other kids, this is going to start. They're going to need your support more than ever. Educate yourself about pediatric CRPS as much as you can if they're young. Find a support group that maybe deals in pediatrics. Determine what is normal for this age. This is, again, something children are very smart. They will figure out what works and how to work around you. No comment there. But they will. So you need to know what is age appropriate for them, what kind of behavior is normal for this age group, and see if it falls within the norm. Kids act out. They do. They want something, they don't get it, they scream, they cry, they rant. That's normal. But they also it might be more than that. So take notice that maybe it is the pain going up or something else. They're not acting as their normal child. And this is your child, you would know them. Take care of yourself. How are you going to take care of them if you can't take care of yourself? Make sure you eat, you sleep, you take your vitamins, whatever it is. Go out once in a while and have some time to yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you're going to fail, you're going to fall. And where's that going to leave your child? Be their parents. And when I mean be their parent, we're not their friends, we're their parents. That means discipline. That means when they misbehave, they don't get off just because they say they hurt. They did something wrong, it's consequences for that. Otherwise, that's a learned behavior. I'm in pain, I got away with it. It's not something you want to have happen. And be aware of their siblings' feelings. How many of you have children who have, and then they have siblings with CRPS? Okay. This came up at the conference that somebody was saying that a lot of times the child with CRPS seems to be singled out. Well, they are. Doctor's appointments, special care, maybe homeschooling. The other siblings may have anger about this and they're not expressing it. Just be aware of to figure it out if it is there. Ask them. Just communicate with them. Making life easier. We all have hectic lives. Use your technology. Somebody I was talking to earlier today was about how great their phone was. Do that. Set your timers. I love timers. Set timers, set dates, set alarms. Use those things. What's one less thing that's in our mind that we have to worry about? Calendars. I color-coded my children. It was the easiest thing in the world to do. They each got one color. They each got a folder. They got a marker. They had their socks. I didn't have to think. They knew one was blue, one was green. You didn't want to know what you did today? I didn't have to be the human computer. Look on the calendar. What color is it? It's green. That means it's your day. Have them take some responsibility. It's easier for family, too. Anything in red was family. Plan ahead. If you want to do something, try to do it. Don't try to always wait till the last minute. We get flare-ups. We get tired. We get stressed. Everything seems more dramatic. So plan your projects ahead of time. Give your time. Give yourself some lead time. Build in extra time. I'm very guilty of that, saying, oh, I have 3 days, I'll get it done when I really need 5. And all of a sudden, then you get all stressed out again. And we start yelling at people because things aren't getting done. Use tools of convenience. A lot of electronic stuff out there now that makes life easier. It's easier in our hands. It's easier cooking. It's easier cleaning. Find them. Use them. Do some research. Make a list of what can be done to help. How many times does somebody say, oh, do you need help? And we say no. And really, there's a list a mile long of things that need to be done. So make a list if somebody asked you that you wouldn't have a problem have them doing it. Yeah, I need my lawn mowed. You want to shovel my snow? You know, can you stop at the grocery store for me? Or, you know, if you're going out, can you go to Walgreens and pick up my prescription? Keep those things in mind. They're asking because they want to help. It's just not, you know, an offhand cuff remark. It's they want to help you. Take advantage of that. Use your support system. We don't have to do everything ourselves. It's something that's hard for me to learn to do. I'm saying somebody else can set the table, somebody can clear the table, somebody can stop at the store for me. If you're going that way, can you pick it up? I don't have to make that extra trip. Some of this is just planning. It makes our life easier. Even if we didn't have CRPS, it would make your life a little easier. Delegate. Again, delegate some jobs. This is your job this week. This is your, it gets done. You don't have to do it. You don't have to remember to tell somebody to do it. One of the other things is our social networks. The most I can do for my friend is simply to be his friend. Sometimes it's just listening, being there. It doesn't have to be that we have to go out and we have to do things and we have to go shopping and we have to go here and we have to go there. Who's our friends and who's not? How many have lost friends since they've had CRPS? And some we may have lost anyway. We grow, we change, hobbies change, interests change, things happen. How much do we share? This has been an issue a lot with social media, as we put a lot of information out there and a lot of personal information. How much do you put out there that is protecting yourself and protecting your privacy? We tend to think we can go put anything up on Facebook and nobody knows it. You think you can tweet and you can put all these pictures up and no one else is going to see it. We interview people for jobs. We look at their Facebook pages. We look to see what's up there. What are they doing? It's a whole part of your world. And then we want to educate people about CRPS. Do they need to know every little thing about us right off the start? Express our possible limitations. Okay, I have friends who want to go do things. We want to go on a hiking trip. I don't think hiking trip is going to be the best for me. Can we do something that maybe involves car rides where they take us on scenic tours? Something that's a little that we can all do together. Find things that are a little bit of common ground. Communication is a two-way street. If we don't tell them, how are they going to know? Or is it anybody a mind reader? No. So if I don't tell them these things, how are they going to know them? So when they say, oh, I got tickets to a concert, and I'm going, vibrations, noise, people, Okay, are they the special seats? Yes, because I communicated that PNC has handicap lawn seats. It's a patio with chairs. No vibrations, no people, no pushing, and I get to go to a concert. Again, it's not all about us. There's other people involved in this relationship. You have to understand that they may have issues in their life that are destroying them or upsetting them or making them happy. Appreciate those too. Just because we had a crappy day doesn't mean that we can't appreciate they had a good one. You're not going to stay friends with somebody long if that continues to happen. And compromise. You want to go do something, you may have to find, let's go shopping. I can go shopping for 40 minutes. That's the extent of what I can walk the mall. Not 4 hours. We're not going to, how about, half hour, and then you have a 10 minutes built in, or we have to do lunch or get coffee or something in between. How much is too much support or is it control? How many people have it and when they go to do something, somebody says, don't do that, or don't pick that up, or there has to be a point we have our independence. And sometimes it's a live and learn experience. How much we can do, sometimes we have to test. I have a good day, I can do more. I have a bad day, I can't. I have to communicate that. Don't take away my control by not allowing me to do things. Understanding things change. You have friendships, they're going to change. How we do things is going to change. Find new ways to do things or learn some new things. There's lots of hobbies out there. There's lots of things that we can do, and sometimes we don't think outside our box that we had preconceived of what we thought we were doing. Find something different. Take a class. It could be napkin folding. Just something different that gets you out and you socialize. Dating with CRPS has been a topic. I'm married, so I don't date. But I talk to people who are. I did some research. There's some books out there about relationships. And one of the things is what to tell a new or possible partner. What do you tell them? You meet somebody, you connect, and I mean, they may see your cane or your walker, and they know there's an issue. How much do you tell them? How much would you normally tell them on a first date if you just met this person? Do you need to tell them everything about your CRPS? No. I have a syndrome. This is what it is. And go from there. They'll either ask questions or they won't. Answer any relevant questions. They may ask, what are your limitations? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? The same thing anybody else asks. Keep conversations truthful but positive. How many people want to go out and have dinner with somebody when all you're going to do is, woe is me? I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that to somebody else. It doesn't mean you can't be truthful, just don't always go the negative aspect. I can't. My life's different, I have to adapt and do things differently. It's changed it this way. Stay interesting. Just because we have CRPS doesn't mean you don't read a newspaper or a magazine, watch the news, watch sports, watch American Pharaoh win. Just, there are things out there that are part of our social world. Don't disconnect from all of it. Yes, we're in pain, yes, we're uncomfortable, but disconnecting is hurting yourself. Accept help and set limits. I need help in and out of the car. Don't try to do it myself if I know I need help. Let the person help me a little bit. Obtain and advocate. Educate somebody. Be possible, explain what we do. Maybe they want to help, who knows? And when I say show appreciation, if somebody does something nice for you, say thank you. It's a very powerful thing to be appreciated for what you do. And I mean, that's as simple as somebody taking out the trash. Thanks for doing that. Now, I don't have to, that's great. But sometimes we just need to show a little appreciation to the people we care about and the people we're involved with. Because sometimes all they deal with is the downside of this. It may take some time if you're dating. This is no different than really dating somebody, out in the dating world. It doesn't mean you're going to go out tomorrow and meet the person of your life. It's going to take time. You have to meet people and talk, but you have to invest yourself into doing this. Be honest of what your commitment is. Am I looking to go out and have fun, or am I looking to have a relationship? Be honest. Watch for any disturbing concerns. This was something I found unusual. There are actual people that prey on people who have disabilities. 1, they want your medication. 2, they want to control you somehow, your finances or whatever. If they can get in, they're very controlling. So be very careful if somebody is a little too inquisitive about personal things such as that. And don't overcompensate. Be who you are. Either they're going to like you for who you are or they're not. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to like everybody. The point is, if you want to be with somebody, you want to be honest with them and like you for who you are as you are. How many people are on social media? Okay, we're all guilty. It's great, but real people matter too. Like I said, don't disconnect. Don't let social media be your only connection to people. It's amazing just to go out. We did this in an experiment with somebody and just smiled at people as we walked around the store. The difference in how people related to you just walking around and smiling was utterly amazing. I didn't even have to talk to them. You can't do that on Facebook or Twitter or anything else, or even email. Understand it's a tool and it has its place, but it should not be your only social connection. I know some people live out where it's not easy to get to places. It's a tool. It should not be your only connection. I run support groups. That's how I got involved in all this. I went to a support group meeting when I was diagnosed, walked out and wanted to find a gun. It was the most demeaning, depressing thing I'd ever been to, and I said, I don't know anything and I can do better. I didn't have to know anything and I could do better. Opening up in person is amazing. How many people here, like you said, for the first time met somebody else with CRPS? How empowering is that to finally meet somebody who truly understands what we're dealing with? It's an amazing thing. It validates everything you're going through. Navigating online groups, they're good. They have their place. If you can find it in person, I think they're a better tool. There's a little bit more reason to get out of your house, out of your comfort zone, those type of things. But there are places that they're not convenient, so online works. Just investigate them. Make sure that you're not opening yourself up to some issues. Anybody here want to start their own support group? Okay. It's interesting, it's fun, it's challenging, it also can be exhausting. Medical professionals is another relationship we have, and I'm not going to get too far into that because everybody's relationship with their doctor is personal. And one of the rules we have in our support group is you are not allowed to talk doctor bash. No bashing doctors. Somebody else in that group might be seeing the same doctor. And that relationship is a personal one. And they might think that doctor is a god. You might think he's not. I don't want to battle. And that's not what this is about. It's about sharing information. So when you're dealing with medical professionals, you have a relationship with them as well. Utilize that. How many people make lists before they go to the doctors of questions? It's one of the best things. We actually had a presenter in Denver who talked about that coming to a doctor's office. You have only a short amount of time to actually see the doctor. The more you can stay in tune with what you need to know and where you need to get to, the more you're going to get out of your doctor's appointment, your meeting with any professional, if you go in with your questions or concerns right up front. If you don't, you can be on tangents that will get you nowhere. Or you're going to walk out and go, how come I didn't ask him that? That was the whole thing I came here for. Abuse problems, as I said, are on the rise. And I know this is a negative part of relationships, but it is something to truly understand. It may not happen to you. It may happen to somebody you do know. Verbal abuse is on the rise more than anything else. It's harder to see because there's no physical evidence. But if somebody is swearing at you all the time, demeaning you, putting you down, that's verbal abuse. That is. You need to talk to somebody about it and find out what to do about it before it either escalates or gets worse into physical. Either sex can be a victim of the abuse. Physical and verbal goes both ways. So don't ever, if somebody comes up and says, you know, I think I'm dealing with abuse, and you go, you're a guy. Don't. It's very possible that that person is really dealing with it. As I said, what is verbal abuse? Names, using names to shame, always yelling at you, threat to intimidate, blaming, manipulation, giving threats. You don't do this, I'm leaving. I'm sorry, in certain points in relationship, that just doesn't work. Manipulation, you're always feeling bad. You never feel good enough because somebody's always putting you down for some reason. There's a problem, it's all in your head, you're making this up. You just want attention. Somebody says that enough, that's abuse, because it's not true. They're doing it to manipulate you and feel bad. Or they don't understand and go back to communicating and try to get them to understand. Take them to your doctors. Have the doctor explain it. Take them to a support group meeting. They say a person just needs 3 things to be truly happy in this world: someone to love, something to do, and something to hope for. And I think this conference does that. We bring a lot of people we love to this. It's something to do, which we all need to keep busy, and something to hope for, that this gets better for us. We either find a way to manage it better, a cure, a way to make our relationship stronger and better, which is really important. I hope you enjoyed this. I tried to speed it up so that, because I know it's been a long day.